WRX. Okay, next I'm going to pull out the turbo blow-off valve. And next, I'm going to pull out the intercooler, which has 3 12mm bolts, I think 1 here and then 2 on the turbo over here.
My video?
Sure. You want to try from that side? Oh, I don't know what I was going to say. You got it, yeah, you plug those. I should put gloves on. I'm gonna like take my knuckles out, I know. And then in addition to those 3 bolts, I think there's a clamp here that I've got to get to. Looks like a radiator hose clamp style. It's just put a screwdriver in there, screwdriver it. Loosen with a screwdriver, straight head. True story. All right, we've got the intercooler out of the car. You can see so much more now. You can see the transmission bell housing there. And the next thing, I think the next thing we're gonna do is pull the downpipe off the turbo. I think that's what I'm gonna try to do next. And I also got to pull the fuel rails too. And I bought a cheap plastic tool from Amazon to do that. We'll see if that works. Yeah, that's probably where I'm gonna stop for today. Making progress. I watched so many videos of people doing this on YouTube. I thought, yeah, they always make it look easy in the videos. I thought it would be a lot harder, but when I got to it, it's actually not that hard. It goes just like it does in the video. My point being, give it a try. So I cut a piece of cardboard out 16 inches by 30 inches and wedged it in front of or behind rather, the air conditioning radiator so that it'll protect it from any accidental damage. If I hit it with a hammer, it's still in trouble, but I think it should protect it pretty well for unintentional hits. Alright, there's the box of fuel disconnects I bought for $5 on Amazon. I have never done this before, no idea what I'm doing. Presumably there's a correct size for this. This is in the way. I think that's why everyone cuts these in half. I think this is too close. Maybe the bottom one's easier. I don't know. This is gonna take me a minute to figure out. Okay, so I was trying to use the plastic fuel disconnect tool and it didn't really work well. I see people doing it with 2 picks. So I made myself a piece of 12 gauge copper wire shaped like that. And the trick is you push it forward, push the fuel line forward so it takes the pressure off the ears, the little clips, and then you push in with your little copper wire thing and you pull, bam, just like that. Look at that. I struggled for so long trying to use the plastic disconnect tool. All you need is a piece of 12 gauge copper wire. Okay, I got them all off. To get the bottom one, I had to bend my wire like that. What it is, there's just a little plastic ear on each side, a little clip that you got to push back so it can slide over the barb. But that's it. They're all off. That's where I'm stopping for tonight. Hope that helps. All right, one more thing I just realized you have to do is we have to pull all the hoses from the catch can, which I'm still not sure what it is, to the engine. So there's 1, 2, 3, maybe, I don't know. Let's find out. Okay. It's currently not raining, so I'm going to take advantage of this dry weather to work on the WRX again. Today I'm going to try and pull the downpipe and then maybe continue pulling the hoses off the air oil separator. We're getting closer to being able to pull the engine. Very exciting. So the downpipe is an aftermarket downpipe. It does not have a heat shield on it. I don't know what kind it is. So it's got 5 bolts, it looks like, where it attaches to the turbo. And then, if we look underneath the car, there's 2 bolts where it attaches to the exhaust. There is the O2 sensor. I need to pull the plug on, and then there's also a hanger somewhere in there I've got to take off. So that's what we're doing now. The plug for the O2 sensor is right here. The turbo downpipe bolts are on there pretty tight. They're weird angles to get at. All I've got is a 3/8 drive with a 14 mil socket, and it's not really big enough. I've got a 1/2-inch breaker bar on order, should be here today, but I don't have any 14 mil 1/2-inch sockets. So maybe I'm gonna hit pause and go find appropriate tools. We'll try again. Okay, we are going to the auto parts store to get a 1/2-inch socket, 14 mil, for breaking the bolts off the turbo. Let's go. Sweet little Kawasaki Ninja parked by my pickup. Okay, got myself a 14 mil 1/2-inch drive. Let's try this downpipe removal one more time. I don't have my 1/2-inch breaker bar yet, but I do have a smaller 1/2-inch, which might be enough to get it done. Jeez. Okay, while I'm waiting for my 1/2-inch breaker bar to show up, I can work on something different. I've got 2 more hoses to pull off the AOS. One of them is, I can get rid of that. One of them is attaches to one side of the engine, the other attaches to the other side right here. So there's one on either side that come from the AOS back here. An AOS is different than a catch can, I've learned. A catch can you have to empty yourself. An AOS is an air oil separator, and it returns the oil back to the crankcase, I think, by itself. So, I don't know, cool mod. I think it makes the engine run cleaner, less buildup. So, I'm waiting for my 1/2-inch breaker bar to show up so I can pull the downpipe. After that, all that's left to do is pull out all the bolts on the bell housing that connect the bell housing to the engine, and then we can pull the engine. But before we do that, you want to go around and look at anything that's still going between the engine and the motor. And if you look at that, there is stuff like, looks like a vacuum hose here going to the brake boost. Brakes, I don't know what things are called. The starter needs to come off down here, and then next to the starter, you can kind of see it, there's a couple heater core hoses going to it as well. So I'm going to pull all those things. Okay, I messed with them some more and I was able to get the top 3 bolts or nuts off of the turbo downpipe. 2 of them were nuts with bolts, and the one on the passenger side there was just a nut on a, looks like welded bolt on the turbo. So now there's 2, I think, underneath. I'm gonna try to get under the car and get those. Okay, this is under the car looking up at the turbo downpipe. There's 2 more bolts underneath it on the bottom. I'm gonna try to get those 2 right now. I found that a 1/2-inch drive with a 14mm socket and a swivel has been working pretty well so far. I got another one. I was able to get that one right there. This one is, they're all super awkward to get to, but this one I can't even get a socket on it, so maybe I can get a wrench on it. I don't know. This is tricky. I want to show you real quick what I had to do to get that last bolt underneath the downpipe. I couldn't fit a socket on it, so I'd put the wrench on it and then snake another wrench up in between the CV joint and the subframe and lock it on like that and use that for leverage to crank on it. The old 2-wrench trick. That's how you get that one. That's what the downpipe looks like. I don't know anything about it. It's aftermarket. If anybody knows what it is, let me know in the comments. I would be interested to know. All right, next I'm going to pull the starter, which is held on by 2 bolts. One of them is right there. They're hard to see, and the other one's under the starter, but they go through the bell housing into the engine. So I'm going to try and pull those. All right, here's the starter from underneath, and you can see on the bottom of the starter right there is 1 more bolt holding the starter on, going through the bell housing into the engine, so we're going to pull that. Also, we're going to see if we can pull those clips off the starter to make it easier to get out. I can't film this because it's such an awkward angle, and it's just me. The last thing I need to pull before I can take the starter out, it's still being held on by the bolt down below, is right there is the positive power for the starter, so I'm going to pull that off too. And then when I finish pulling the bolt underneath the starter, I think the starter should just come off in my hand, magically. Magic. As I was saying, I'm going to try tapping it lightly. All right, I got the starter motor out. It was just a little bit of corrosion in there holding on, a little tap. Came right out my hand. You have to take it out from the bottom. I mean, maybe it'll go up, but it didn't seem like it wanted to. The teeth all look good on it. Doesn't look like it's anything broken, so starter should be good to reuse. All right, I was thinking I'm down to just these 2 heater core coolant words. These 2 heater hoses. But then I also realized I've got this massive wiring, which is basically all the electrical wiring for the engine to unplug. And I don't really know how this thing works, but I don't want to break it, so I'm gonna maybe watch a YouTube video and unhook this wiring harness right here. Okay, here's how to remove the wiring harness for the engine. First, you put a screwdriver in right there and pry, and it pops open the gray plastic. Pull that back there. Once you got that bolt pulled and the gray plastic yoke open, it just pulls right out. And then this piece can go with the engine when you pull the engine out of your Subaru WRX. Okay, finally got the last heater hose off. Coolant stripping into the rotisserie chicken container, which saves the day once again. Yeah, the radiator hose clip, it's a spring clip, was rusted and it broke instantly, so it proved to be a pain. Oh, you're still watching. That's awesome. I want to congratulate you on being the first person to ever watch this video all the way through. Whether you fell asleep and just woke up, or you're rebuilding a Subaru WRX engine of your own and you're trying to get that one camera angle that you can't find anywhere else. I know I really got into the weeds here. There's a lot of video here, but if it helps one person, then that's what we're looking for. All right, tune in next time. We'll keep going on pulling the engine, and we're getting closer to ordering a new JDM engine, and maybe this summer we'll get this thing running. Find out.